Hi, and this is just a little interlude between sessions. It's something we didn't get time for in the last session, so I just want to run this now. This is just a scene with Baldwin, played by Ghost. So without further ado, let's get going. Okay, can you see that? Okay.
I can.
Okay, so our scene is the infirmary in Norhold. A simple building with a lot of beds pushed into it. And we see Baldwin. It's the night of with the tavern brawl, and he's left the tavern after having an argument with Rubrum. What kind of state of mind is he in right now? Particularly given what he told Rubrum and how Rubrum kind of brushed it off.
As Baldwin comes into the infirmary, he sits in a stool there that he's kind of taken as his. He tends to sit there and go over what he needs to in a day by day, and he begins to think about the dangers in this settlement that are presenting themselves that he would not have expected. He knew Rubrum was strange and had the sense that he could be selfish, but not to that level, not to that magnitude. More to the point, the callous disregard that he felt from Rubrum. And Dalrend as well, even though he has a respect for Dalrend's ability, the treatment of that corpse, some of the behaviors, he wonders about these new allies and these people that he's vouched for to come in, and if he hasn't brought something worse to a place that already is beset by calamity. And so he's deep in thought, and questions to himself as much as his goddess, looking for some kind of guidance or understanding and simply not finding it.
And as the evening wears on, it's pretty late. Casa comes out and speaks to you, and she can see that you're troubled, but she gives you your space. And as Baldwin is sitting on one of the beds and looking deep in thought, she comes over, and being so much shorter, she standing up is at about the same head height as he is sitting down, and she just reaches over and pats him on the shoulder and says, "Get some sleep, right?" And gives him a sort of half smile, and then heads off to her room.
Yeah, he'll nod to her. He'll give her a very reluctant smile. He's very forced, but he nods. Of course, Casa. Have a good night.
And she gives that same sort of smile again, not smiling too broadly because she's concerned about him, but giving a sort of companionable smile, and heads back to her room. And eventually, Baldwin does get to sleep. When he does, he has the strangest dream. He finds himself in a place he's never seen before. And it is a place that looks like this. Hold on. Let's hide that left-hand scene. Okay, so it's this right-hand picture here.
I can't see it.
No? Let me just
it's all darkness.
check. Try that.
Yes.
Okay.
Am I supposed to be seeing statues?
That's correct, yeah.
Yes.
And he finds himself in this place. and he can see all around him are statues of the gods. It's unusual to see all of the gods depicted in one place, and particularly because in this case, looking around, he sees Paladin and Takesis here as well. But there's also a missing goddess, Mina, who has only been worshipped since the War of Souls. Which means wherever he is, if it is a place in the world, is ancient. And as he's looking round, he sees another figure in the room with him, and it appears to be Casa. She is looking at the statue of Takesis. And she doesn't appear to notice him. Oops.
Baldwin is fully lucid, like he can move around, and if he thinks something, it comes to his mind. And...
Yep.
Yeah, so he kind of looks at his hands, and he looks around where he is, and he looks at all the different gods and goddesses, but then he sees that he has someone in his dream. Not uncommon, but then he's never had control like this, so he will walk over to Casa. This is an interesting situation. I remembered going to sleep. Where are we? Do you know, Casa?
And Casa speaks, and there's something odd about her voice. It's her voice, but it's not. It's more confident, but at the same time more... It has an echo to it that's not quite normal. And she, without turning round, she says, she worries about you, you know. Your sorrow hangs on you like a shroud, Baldwin, and you pretend it is nothing.
And he is nothing for a moment. Who worries about me?
And Casa turns round and looks at you and says, why, Casa, of course.
He stiffens up a bit and looks at Casa, who is not Casa, apparently. And I see. And who do I speak with now that looks so much alike her?
And she smiles and turns back and says, Casa has a journey, and so do you, Baldwin. It is a terrible thing to be betrayed by a parent. And she looks across at you and said, I have had 3 mothers and yet none. And then sort of looks a bit distant for a second and says, and one of them betrayed me, would have had me killed. And then she stops and looks up at the statue of Takesis. Someone wants you dead, Baldwin. He's planning for it right this moment.
Who wants me dead? Who? And he's like trying to think of who this is. Who wants me to die? Who are you? How do you know?
And she looks around the room and she looks at all the statues and she says, one who is missing, and turns back and smiles at you. One who knows that sorrow cannot be ignored. It has to be felt. It has to be experienced. Pain cannot be denied. It will fester, Baldwin.
Mina?
And she smiles.
And he's taken aback, of course. He has no... he has almost no words for his... The first thing you think to do in the presence of a divine being is to bow. He takes a knee.
And she just nods and smiles again. Says, this place has been closed for too long. It needs to open, Baldwin. And she's looking around the place. She says, but you will need to make an adjustment. Help Casa make an adjustment. And she gestures towards the statue of Takesis behind her. So this place was once a reminder that the gods, though we often stand in opposition, are one. And then she stops and gives a wry smile and says, one family. But you know that families are not always ideal, Baldwin.
Far from it. What would you have us do? What would you have me do? What would you ask of me?
I have called you here, brought you here, because the balance is at risk in this place, in this time, in this region. And in this matter, Mishakal and I are on the same side of the balance. Casa is going on a journey of her own right now. I have called you here really to keep you safe, Baldwin. And I will tell you this. You will find you have slept long, and there will be those who have sought you. Before you resent being absent for important matters, or feel that you have slept through through matters where you were needed, I would just say this. This was all part of it. And Baldwin, remember Darisgard. And you just get flashbacks of all the things you found out about what your father had been doing. So the stuff we were talking about offline earlier. You just get flashbacks of all that stuff. And then she looks at you and says, now sleep, wounded knight. And you just find your eyes closing.
He falls asleep.
Great. Thank you very much.